Okay, college algebra. We have a couple of reviews that we need to do. So 5.3 and 5.7 are reviews for this section. So let's look in the first example. First one, we're talking about how we combine functions, okay? What does f plus g of x mean? That means f of x plus g of x, okay? Using the definitions above, write the expression for f plus g of x combining like terms. So f of x plus g of x is going to be 2x plus 3 plus x squared plus 1. So if I combine like terms, it looks like I can add those two together. So this is going to be, and we typically write the squared term first, x squared plus 2x plus 4, okay? That is what it means to have f of x plus g of x. X squared plus 2x plus 4. What is the domain of f plus g of x? When I look at f of x and g of x, I see no square roots, I see no fractions. Those domains are going to be negative infinity to infinity. So when I add them together, I'll get the same domain of negative infinity to infinity. What does the expression g over j of x mean? That means g of x divided by j of x. Using the definitions above for g and j, write the expression for g over j of x. So g of x over j of x is going to be equal to, my definition for g is x squared plus 1. My definition for j is x minus 3. So what is the domain of g over j? Well, the two things I look for, square roots and fractions. I see a fraction. When I see a fraction, I know that I cannot divide by 0. So x minus 3 cannot equal 0. So x cannot equal 3. If it cannot equal 3, what can it be? It can be any number except 3. The mathematical way we write any number except 3 is negative infinity up to 3, and then 3 to infinity. Very important with the parentheses because I'm not including 3. That's the whole point of this. It can't be 3. That's the way we write it can't be 3, and it can be anything else. What does h times k? Now keep in mind that's a closed dot. This is not composition, it's multiplication. This means h of x times k of x. So let's figure out what that is. H of x times k of x will equal, let's go find h. H is square root of 2x plus 1. And k is absolute value of x minus 2. That's it. Square root of 2x plus 1 times the absolute value of x minus 2. What is the domain of this? Well, when I look at domains, I'm looking for square roots and fractions. I see no fractions, but I see a square root. My restriction when I see the square root is what is under the square root sign has to be greater than or equal to 0. So 2x has to be greater than or equal to negative 1. X has to be greater than or equal to negative 1/2. If I draw that on a number line, negative 1/2, closed circle, greater than means shade to the right. So that interval is the interval from negative 1/2 to infinity. So that's the domain of h of x times k of x. So that's the end of page 1. We'll take a break. We'll come back to page 2.